Hello YTPC, this is Potter Piper. It is Friday, Freedom Friday, and it's only a couple days before Christmas, but I wanted to get a VR out to Doug, Trucking Piper, and I got a couple hours in the car. I'm not smoking anything because I'm going to be picking up my dog, and I just didn't think the dog would care for this smoke in a small confined space. But a VR to Doug, and it was very specific. Christmas memories of someone who's not with us anymore that impacted us. And I'm gonna have to do it a little different because I don't necessarily have one specific person, because things changed drastically within my family over a couple years. When I was from 14 to 18, but 14 to 16 years old. So what I was going to share is, well, what happened is we lost quite a bit of family to death, and it was either not natural, as we would say, as the sun keeps shifting, or the car does, or it was all of a sudden. So before I was between 14 and 16, I had very fond memories of our Christmas time with the family, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles, my grandparents, on both sides of the family, but especially on my maternal side, which would be the Irish side. I'm half Irish, half German, but actually I was told we just have always said Irish and German, but I was told we probably are more Austrian than German. And so on the Irish side, we always got together at my grandparents' house, and being an only child, I always wanted siblings, and my parents divorced at a very young age, which isn't really a unusual occurrence today, but in the 70s it wasn't necessarily as prevalent. And so I would say I kind of felt isolated quite a bit. And so when we go to, we'd have the holidays, but like Christmas, I always enjoyed kind of looking from the outside in. That's a whole nother subject. That's not enjoyable. But I can remember seeing family always in different spots of the house. The men would be doing their thing, the women would be doing their thing, us kids would be doing our thing. And the women would be in the kitchen, the men would be in the living room. I guess that's not kosher to talk about that today, but the women didn't want the men, at least in those days. The women didn't want the men messing around in the kitchen. They preferred to have their time, and so I enjoyed that. As a kid, maybe I was a little different, but I'm sorry the camera's if it's shaking. I have a 2001 Grand Marquis, and it's a 2001 Grand Marquis. I love it, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to have the shock absorbers and so forth that new cars have. But I could look like outside, looking into a window, and kind of see how we kids were looking at things. I was the oldest of the cousins. I could go and see how the women were doing their thing, my grandmother, mother, aunts. and enjoy that, and then look out and see how the guys were, they're talking, what they were doing, watching football or so forth, and just hear different conversations. The Christmas tree, the presents. I loved my grandparents' house because you could run around, and it was a good size house. So those are very good memories that I go back to today. And not to dwell on the sadness, unfortunately, within a few years, we lost a lot. And it just changed that Christmas forever. We never got back to that as a family. And then pretty much on 18, I was on my own, in a certain sense. I always had to do for myself. So I wanted to get this out because I like Doug. I think I've never met him in person, but just seems like a really solid guy, good guy, God-fearing man, and just seems like a really good guy to meet someday. So thank you, Doug, for especially your generous gaw, and giving me an opportunity to think of the Christmas memories that I do rely upon to come to mind. So God bless everybody. Merry Christmas. I'm going to make a few more to put out, but I wanted to get that out to Truck and Piper Doug. Merry Christmas, everyone. God bless.